Welcome to Not Entirely Unlike Tea with Christine Collins. Hey there, it's Christine Collins, and for today for you, I have a very easy but incredibly powerful little exercise that you can do when you have an unsolvable problem. So this exercise is for the moments when you have already tried to logic your way through a situation and the answers aren't coming to you. There's not a clear and easy resolution, and you have not yet been able to fully establish how to proceed forward with a solution. So this involves using a touch of intuition, a little dash of magic, and you can certainly use a portion of your logical mind as well. But we're going to be creative, we're going to be imaginative, we're going to play, and we're going to have a little fun. So the first thing is to be very, very clear about what the problem is, whatever it is that you're trying to solve. What is the situation? What are the parameters of the situation? What are the pieces that you know? What are the pieces that you don't know? And what are the pieces that you need to find and to gather more insight in order to come to a better conclusion? Now, obviously, there are dozens and dozens of ways that you can use your intuition to help solve problems. So this is just going to focus on one key visualization exercise. And that exercise is based upon the premise that we can think of ourselves as existing on a timeline that goes backward in time and forward in time, and also understanding that the concept of time itself is a little bit made up. It's a little bit of a man-made construct to make sense to our human mind, but that's not to say that we can't play with that timeline in our imagination. So as you close your eyes and begin your visualization process, obviously making sure that you're in a safe and controlled environment where you can safely close your eyes for this exercise, the next thing to do is to consider whereabouts on the timeline are you right now, so the present moment, so envisioning that first as it exists on that timeline. And now you may see your timeline as stretching out ahead in front of you and back behind you, like just very straight line back and forth. You may see it in a more horizontal way. You may see it in a more diagonal way. So whatever that timeline looks like for you is perfectly fine. There's no right or wrong answers. But for the purpose of describing it to you, I'm just going to talk about the timeline stretching forward ahead of you and the past stretching back behind you. So envisioning the present moment on the current space, on the current timeline, and now understanding that forward motion on that timeline carries you into the future. Now, I don't know if you've ever been on an amusement park ride where there's kind of like a little trolley that you sit in of some kind, or a seat of some kind, and you're in like a little cart or something that moves on wheels across a track. So that's kind of the visual that I'm offering here, that you are in this like little capsule that can move forward and backward on this timeline as you're going. And so the next step is to notice where on that track, where on that timeline, this problem that you currently are struggling with, when is it getting solved? So you can think about something tomorrow, you could think about it a week from now, you can envision it a year from now. So depending on the situation, what is the likelihood resolution timing where you can be in a space in the future and look back and say, oh yeah, I remember when I was really struggling with that. So whatever that time is for you, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, go ahead and picture a dot, a forward spot in the timeline where that situation has been resolved. And now in your visualization, in your little trolley or your little cart that you're moving along this timeline, you're going to allow yourself to gently nudge forward on that timeline until you reach that spot in the future where the current problem has already been resolved. And as you get out of that cart and kind of look around and notice your surroundings, you're taking in sensory details, sights, sounds, scents, anything that you can observe and notice. Where are you? What does it look like? Are you in your home? Are you somewhere else? Are you traveling? Are you with other people? And now noticing that in that future space and time, there is a future version of yourself who exists in that future time. And this version of you has already traveled through all of the things So that person has already been through where you are right now, that uncertainty of not knowing how to solve this thing, and that future version of you has walked through all of it and knows exactly the steps that you took, knows the things that you've been through, and the ways in which you actually ended up solving it. And so the next piece is to envision some kind of a cozy, comfortable little setting. Maybe there's a couch or a chair, or maybe you're sitting on the beach, whatever that looks like for you, with future version of you, and you're going to have a little conversation, and you're going to meet with that future version of you and ask questions that maybe you have right now as you're trying to resolve this issue. So it could be things like, what's the next thing I need to do? What's my next step? Are there resources or other people that I need to reach out to for further assistance or help? Are there pieces of information that I'm missing in order to be able to solve this situation? Do I need to go somewhere or do something to get closer towards the solution? And now future you will respond, and sometimes it'll be very clear. Sometimes it'll be like, yep, this is your next step, or yep, here's what to do. Other times it's more like breadcrumbs for you to follow. And it might just be a little hint or a little nudge in the right direction to kind of get you going, but it gets you at least a step further closer towards resolution than what you started with. Now, in order to do this effectively, you must suspend your everyday judgment and disbelief, just exactly the same as we do when we pick up a fiction novel or we step into watching a TV show or a fantastical movie. You temporarily suspend your disbelief in feeling like this is made up. So you have to kind of let that part of your judgy, critical mind relax and just allow yourself to temporarily believe that this really is possible, and allow yourself to fantasize and imagine and be open to what future you might say, and not be worried or concerned that you're making it up or that you're doing it wrong, or that there's something astray going on. Just allowing it to happen, and you might be very, very pleasantly surprised by what emerges from that envisioned, visualized, imagined conversation. And I do suggest that before going into this visualization that you have a notebook or a phone with your notes app or something handy where afterwards you can quickly write down anything interesting that emerged or came up for you as you did this exercise. Whatever it may be, and it doesn't have to make sense to you right now, just write down everything that you get out of it, any insights, any flashes of inspiration, any interesting ideas, any little words or quotes or phrases that come through in that conversation, and just keeping yourself open, allowing yourself to just be open to the experience. And after you feel like you've gleaned everything useful from the conversation, make sure to thank the future version of yourself for sharing whatever was shared, and then close it back up again, get back into your trolley or back into your cart, and then you're going to be moving backwards on the timeline, all the way back into the now, the present moment. And then always, just like any type of visualization, meditation, or relaxing eyes closed activity, give yourself a few moments to gently come out of it, wiggle your fingers and toes, take a few deep breaths, feel back into your body, do some gentle movement, and give yourself a few minutes before you jump back into the rest of your day. Now, you may be partially wondering exactly how does this work? Why does this work? And there are a lot of ways to answer that question, and some of which may be even a little bit unknown. But there are two elements that I would posit for you. And the first is, of course, that we don't fully understand intuition. And if you have a more intuitive, spiritual tint to the way you look at things, you can choose to look at this as accessing your higher self, the part of you that kind of has that over-encompassing knowledge or understanding of your experience. There's another element here that I would also introduce, which is that our subconscious and all of our unaccessed parts of our brain are consistently and regularly gathering information that we are not necessarily consciously aware of in every moment. We are gathering information through what we see, what we observe, what we hear, and we're not always processing consciously all of those details and pieces of information. And sometimes when we do little exercises like this, it gives us an opportunity to access some of that unconscious, unprocessed information that we actually have already at our disposal. We just haven't begun using it yet. There may be pieces of information and knowledge about your situation that you're trying to solve that you haven't considered. It also places your brain into a more relaxed state, which allows you to access your creativity, your ability to solve problems in new, out-of-the-box and more creative ways that you may not be doing when you're in a fully conscious state, and perhaps even in a state of mild panic or anxiety. And anxiety does a lot to diminish our capacity to solve problems. And so when you get into a deeply relaxed state, sometimes you come up with solutions that you didn't even know you already had. That, of course, is one of many reasons why I recommend hypnosis and other similar tools for relaxing your mind, because it does help you to access some of these inner intuitions. So I hope that you will find this exercise helpful for you. If you enjoyed this exercise and are interested in further similar types of exercises, or if you like visualizing, you might enjoy my Hypno-Pothecary, which has a lovely collection of hypnosis audios, some of which have similar types of visualization as this. And also there's a collection of meditations and visualizations existing in the Hypno-Pothecary. And you can find all the details about the Hypno-Pothecary in the show notes. And until we connect the next time, I wish you the most magical and creative rest of your day. Thanks for listening. This is Christine Collins at transformcreate.com.